Calificas para ser legal, quieres saber, solo llama al abogado Andrés Mejer.
The second component that we're going to talk about now is what are the 4 pillars that immigration reform should have. Number 1, the first pillar that immigration reform should have, I call it the Black Panther path to status. Why? Well, because Babadijan Bamba, who was the military leader in the Black Panther movie, he came out as being a DACA holder and represented proudly that he worked on major movies because he now got employment authorization under Obama. So, path to status. We have 11 million plus or minus undocumented immigrants. That includes DACA holders, TPS holders. They all need a path to legal status. And what I mean by a path to legal status, in an ideal world, someone applies, they've been here a certain period of time, they pass a criminal background test, they pay taxes, they speak English, they apply and they get their green card. Then 3, 5, 7 years later, they apply for citizenship, and if they meet the criteria, they get citizenship. That's in an ideal scenario. That's what I call a path to citizenship. Immigration reform does not have to have a path to citizenship. I would like it to be that way. I think it's fair and just, particularly for those that have been here 10, 15 years. Making them go through a 10 or 15, 20-year process, I don't think is appropriate, but I'd be willing to compromise as long as they get legal status. Again, it could be something like DACA or something like TPS, some registered status, lawfully admitted into the United States, paying taxes, no criminal background, speaking English, have certain skills. I'm fine with all of that. They get legal status, and then at some point, either a family relative or an employer can apply for their green card. Once they've had the green card for a certain period of time, they can then apply for citizenship. So we have a path that exists today. What these undocumented immigrants don't have is a means to achieve legal status. Once they have it, they can then follow the green card path or the existing citizenship path once they have a green card. So ideally, they apply and they get the green card. And then later on, they apply for citizenship. I would compromise and accept that, someone like Babadijan Bamba, who has DACA, well, if you've had DACA long enough, you should be able to apply directly for your green card. Or if you have nothing because you came in after you were 16 or 15 years old, when you were 16 or more, then you apply for something, keep that for a certain period of time, and then apply for your green card. And I would be okay with that because it provides them a path to legal status. It provides them a path to normal life for them and for their families, which today, it would allow them to come out of hiding and stop living in fear. That every time they get in the car, they might get pulled over and they might be separated from their families. That if their children are sick and you have to take them to the hospital and you borrow someone's car, you may not get home that night. That's the fear that they're living in, and we need to change that. Second, Gene Hackman's border security. Gene Hackman, although born in the United States, Canadian parents, Canadian mother, went to the military, served his country, also a prominent actor. Now, we need reasonable security. I'm fine with you're undocumented, you go to the military, you can get legal status. That would be awesome. This administration doesn't even want green card holders. They only want citizenships. They're revoking people's ability to serve once they're already registered and waiting to get called up. That's what this administration is doing. That should change. Reasonable technology. So what's reasonable technology to control our borders? Technology, people, and the wall where it's necessary. Look, there are knowledgeable individuals that work for DHS or in the military that can make those decisions. That shouldn't be a political decision. That should be what do we need to secure our borders? And I mean borders plural, north and south. I don't want to limit it just to south. Otherwise, we close one door and leave the other one open. That's silly. We want to continue having the right laws in place for the right times. 3, The third critical reform, pillar that you need for immigration reform, I call it Chaplin's reforms. Charlie Chaplin, very famous actor, early 20th century, he was deported from the United States. Why? Politics alone. In the McCarthy era, they thought he was a socialist and a communist, so they said, you're not coming back to the United States. Goodbye. He lived out of the U.S. for over 25 years. He ultimately was allowed to come back for an award ceremony in the 70s, shortly before he died. We should not be deporting people for political reasons only. That is wrong. We should not have a Department of Justice that can appoint only judges that meet a certain political criteria, that appoint only attorneys that meet a certain ideology. That's not how this should be. Immigration court should be an actual court. It should be the same as a bankruptcy court or a tax court, separate and distinct from the Department of Justice. We must give our judges back control and discretion of their cases. Incredibly important. I don't want any president dictating an outcome for a case. The case should be about the law and it should be about the facts. It should not be about the politics and it should not be about the optic. Fourth, Melania's future flow. Melania Trump, Donald Trump's wife. She's an immigrant. Came in as an O1 person with unique abilities or skills. She applied for her parents. Obviously, Melania is a U.S. citizen today. Her parents also achieved legal status and have their citizenship. We need future flow. What does that mean? High-skilled labor and low-skilled labor. High-skilled, STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. If somebody wants to come and study into the United States, they should be able to do that and then be able to work afterwards or build a business if they're so inclined. If someone already has their doctorate and wants to come in and work and use that education that they got, to the benefit of our society, they should be a streamlined process to do that. If somebody wants to invest hard dollars, $500,000, $200,000, significant money into our economy to build jobs, to help infrastructure, to help our society, they should have a streamlined process to do that. Not something that takes 2 or 3 years and has a lot of hoops and that you never know whether you're going to invest a lot of money, time, and energy and you don't know whether you're going to get the lawful status out of it. It needs to have predictability. So future flow, high-skilled labor, but also low-skilled labor. Agriculture. What are our economy's needs? Well, that changes depending on different parts of the country. Upstate New York, Florida, California, lots of agriculture. They use immigrant labor. Now, that immigrant labor should have lawful status. We don't want any employer taking advantage of immigrants, but there has to be a recognition that we as a society, as a country, as an economy as a whole, has a need for low-skilled labor. Jobs that, let's be frank, Americans aren't going to do or prefer not to do because they may already have a high school degree. They may have a college degree, and they prefer to work in an office environment rather than in the fields. And that's okay. We shouldn't think any less of them for it because we as a society need it if we want our bananas and our apples and our grapes or our dairy. It requires workers. We need it. Now, there should be EVerify for every business. That means an employer must go through a process and determine that their employees are legally in the United States. But you can't do that if you don't have a path for the undocumented immigrants. You have to have one in order to have the other. You can't have EVerify because now you're punishing employers. Someone who's been here for 10, 15, 20 years, has been an employee of mine, fantastic and great. I now learned, or I later learned that, they gave me information that wasn't true. Maybe it was a fake social, maybe it was a fake driver's license, I don't know. But it wasn't accurate information. Now I have to let that person go. How do I replace that person? No, we need to give them a path to achieve legal status. And once that's in place, then require employers to use EVerify. Again, we want to stop this process. We want to give a path for those that are here without permission. We want to control our borders so that more people don't come without permission. And we want to make sure that employers are only employing those that are here with status. Now, that also means, because walls don't stop people that come in on planes, so you have to have a method to control visas. My family came as visa overstays. There are over 40% of the 11 million undocumented immigrants came as legal immigrants and then overstayed their visa for whatever reason. So you need a way to control that. That's called future flow. Low-skilled labor, high-skilled labor, employment verification, controlling our visas. So 4 critical paths, pillars to control immigration reform. Black Panther Path to Status for undocumented immigrants, Gene Hackman's border security, Chaplin's reforms of the courts and of the bureaucracy, clear up the backlog, and Melania's and Schwarzenegger's future flow. How do we, so we're now solving, we're giving a path to status for those that are here without permission. We're securing our borders to make sure that people aren't entering legally and overstaying or just entering illegally and doing whatever they want. We're making sure that employers have consequences if they employ those that are undocumented after we've implemented a path to status for those that want it. That's a successful plan, and it's not rocket science. It's, the majority of Democrats and Republicans across the spectrum know this. There are prior plans that have discussed this. There just needs to be the will to get it done. Thank you very much. I'm Andres Mejer. If you have any questions or comments, my number is 888-888-0307. Or on social media, our handle is always Andres Mejer Law. Until next time.